would not be what we're going to be talking about. Because again, why do you have people mining gold? You're talking about privatizing it. Matawale is talking about, you know, giving them licenses. But you don't want to give licenses to the people in the Niger Delta. Again, IPOB is talking about marginalization. Are we in the same country? Why do you treat us differently? Do you think the government are paying attention to this narrative that is being passed across and like a joke, that it could erupt to something else?
You see, unfortunately, we have a government where once you abide by the law, you are not recognized. Then once you carry arm, the government is quick to call you to order and say, okay, what do you want, and all of that. And it is very dangerous. Now, going forward, you see, first, I think there's a sense of resemblance anyway, that the Minister for Solid Minerals, Dele Alake, had currently banned every site. So soldiers have been moved to every mining site in Nigeria currently, and that everything should first hold on, everything stop. Whether you have licenses to mine and all of that, everyone hold on. Now, you see, we must come, you see, Zamfara, for example, that has such gold can pay salary. No, see, because why? We already refer to the federal post.
Right.
Zamfara could not pay salaries. In 2021, Zamfara could not pay the WAEC fee. And so there was no one who did WAEC in Zamfara state. Imagine a generation, you have stopped them because the government could not pay, the people can't pay, of course. So the government could not pay the WAEC fee. So we now begin to, there was a day, I think that was during the Goodluck Jonathan's time. Some persons in celebration of Goodluck Jonathan chartered bus from the Niger Delta and went to Abuja. And when they came back, they said, the kind road we did that place. Now, wow, this is the local balance now.
Yeah.
The kind road we did that place. Now, wow. And here they get the crude oil to do all of those things. It's a perception. And it's real. And you must arrest it. A way to arrest it is to see that the people here not just see good governance, they must participate in what comes out. I think that was during the Goodluck Jonathan time. That was what gave birth to using the community boys to monitor the oil pipelines.
Right.
And the people now see that the oil wells, there was a time it was published and certain person came to deny it. But it is the truth. That they say that, how come, I'm on the TV, I don't want to mention it. How come you, that when we even look at your area, not in resemblance of you have oil, how come that all of, are you now saying that in the whole of the Niger Delta, there is no rich man?
Right.
So anyway.
So Mr. Momoh, because of time, can we now begin to look at this narrative that IPOB have been pushing for a long time? How you treat us by this statement means those in the old eastern region, if I can put it that way, is not the way you treat those outside of this region. You must have the constituted authority speak about that. Unfortunately, now they are speaking about killings. The guys who carry guns and arms are not constituted authorities.
No. When I make constituted authority,
I understand
a governor is elected in that state.
I understand you, but you know that these governors won't do that.
No, but see, for it to have legal ground and legal backing, and for others to rally round, if IPOB has said it, there could be people who want to concur with such statement, but they are afraid to do so. Why? Because it's a proscribed body. So they are a bit, but if a governor of a state has said this, I tell you that the Hoinese would lash on it.
All right.
I don't know whether you understand what I'm saying.
Totally.
But unfortunately, the constitutional authorities are not saying anything. Are either in romance with the people you are supposed to call to order and say, why are we having these military boys do this kind of damage in my domain? But unfortunately, they are not saying that.
Do you think the kind of federalism we practice contributes with large extent to why these governors seem to be powerless, even though they are supposedly powerful?
We have a wiki who told you I'm not going to go to Abuja in his first time in office. and that Rivers money belongs to the Rivers people. And
so it is the will.
It is individual.
It is the will of this government.
In the office.
It has nothing to do
with
dependence on federal
Why?
allocation.
Because I am afraid that by the time I call Bola Tinubu to order, maybe the 123 road I am going to send as a request to the federal government to attend to in my domain will be refused.
So it's more of a conceited thing and not about fear of what will happen.
Absolutely. I tell you that Wike is able to say these things then because Rivers State has money. You don't say that to a state like Ekiti State. He won't say anything. He would rather want to keep quiet and rub shoulders with the big boss in Abuja so that his allocation and the things that he wanted will come. But unfortunately, you cannot give me money and then you hold my throat not to see how to go about it. That is the unfortunate thing. It is individual in the office. And the leaders in the Southeast must begin to raise their voices in one accord.
Right.
As to what they want for the people. Because they know more about every other person. So, but when you have an IPOB speaking, everyone is tend to want to go away from such things and associate themselves with such things.
Interesting. Now, the Apex Igbo Sociocultural Group, Ohaneze Indigo, have asked President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to fulfill his constitutional obligations by formally transiting power to Vice President Kashim Shettima in his absence. The Secretary General of Ohaneze Indigo, Mazi Okechukwu Isiguzo, in a press statement to journalists in Abakaliki on Wednesday, said, Ohaneze Indigo, the unwavering voice of the Igbo, finds it both intriguing and deeply unfortunate that President Tinubu chose a private visit to France amidst the current daunting security, economic and other pressing challenges facing our great nation. The consequences of neglecting these pressing issues pose a severe risk, as the potential fallout could be nothing short of disastrous. It is important to emphasize that Nigerians are deeply dissatisfied with the worsening state of security and the persistent decline in economic activities, pushing their patience to its limits. The president must not underestimate the resolve of the Nigerian people or take their grievances for granted. It is imperative that he expeditiously addresses the grave challenges of insecurity and economic turmoil in his first quarter of 2024 to avoid the potential eruption of citizen revolt akin to those witnessed in Venezuela and the Arab Spring in Nigeria. Ohaneze Indigo fervently prays for President Tinubu to be endowed with divine wisdom in navigating these troubled times. We implore him to recognize the urgent need for proactively resolving the security and economic crisis afflicting our nation, as the fate of Nigeria and the well-being of its citizens remain at stake. May God guide and grant President Tinubu the foresight and courage to tackle these challenges head-on. Prayed. Now, I will sum it up in one sentence. As at yesterday on the parallel market, the dollar was 1,480 naira. That's the summary in my head. And despite the promise of renewed hope, Nigeria has not been in this economic situation ever before. There is a positive. The only positive is that Nigeria moved 5 steps up in the, what's the word now? Is it the corruption index?
Yeah. Yeah.
So with Mr. President's body language with regards to government officials being suspended, being probed, being replaced, being removed, it somehow has pushed Nigeria up the corruption index. But then, what is the reality to the Nigerian, like they would say, the common man on ground, where you are competing with your peers in other parts of the world? Your naira is going to bits. And Venezuela is, I think Venezuela is an appropriate comparison to make in this case. How do we survive? I'm not calling out President. See, I'm avoiding calling out President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, like the Ohaneze Indigo has said, shift power, hand over power to the vice president, and so on and so forth. I'm looking at the economic situations and how can we navigate as a nation out of these murky waters?
You see, first, I appreciate the way Ohaneze put the whole statement and finished it up. See, like I was saying the other time, these are the constitutional authority that speaks, and it's valid. You see, we must differentiate. When I came in, we were talking about the status of assembly. There is governance. The president said he's going on a private visit. It doesn't concern Daniel Momoh. I have no business with it. Let him go on his private visit. Like I said, anyone can become president. Anyone. The office of the president should not, whether president or governor, should not be rubbished and should not be taken for granted.
Right.
We are going through economic crisis. What's economic crisis? For us as a country. And the president went on a private visit. He has all right to do so. But we're saying that the sovereignty that we surrender to him to rule over us should be transmitted to the vice president. That is the language. And it should be clear. And it should not be ambiguous. It should not be taken as, no, you are going, he said it, on a private visit. It doesn't concern me. And I do not want to be bothered about that. I do not want to be thinking that my president went on a private visit. No, he has a right to so do. But he's going with the sovereignty I have surrendered to him. No, that is why I have a problem with. He should not do that. He should transmit power. And say, okay, in the next 20 days, in the next 5 days, I'll be back. Oh,
I was just going to ask,
okay.
Even in these trips, this is not the first, this is not the second, if I remember correctly. Again, like yesterday, someone said, we're beginning to go back to the era of the Buhari era. But the challenge we have now is, aside not transmitting power officially, right into the assembly to say this man takes over, not stating specifically how many days you're going to be away.
No, I thought he stated he's coming back. When was that again? I think he stated when he will be back. But my problem.
Okay. So now this
because you have used the word. Okay.
So now that Ohanese is even saying transmit, we have seen the president leave the country, transmit power, and the vice president took action. Remember the water Noge and all of those issues. Then comes back and fires. The action taken by the acting president was nullified by the president when he came back. How much does transmission of power really put into perspective what an actual president should be doing?
Work. A process that does not work does not get to the maturity stage.
Okay.
In America now, they can go to sleep and say, no, the president cannot overstep his own bounds. He does not try it. Why? Because over the years, the process had worked and allowed it to work. And so we should not have a stronger person to a weaker institution. We should have a stronger institution to whether a stronger or a weaker person. Individual. That the institution would take care of itself. And so for me, that is why, even if the man is docile, he's there, he didn't do anything, but transmit that power. Let those who are coming after you see that it is a normal process for you to transmit power. It is not losing the game, no. And that is why I have a problem with this photo ops from France and all of that is bullshit for me. Not, oh, the president is watching the match. No, it's on a private visit. Why are you bothering me with this private visit to France?
All right, let's quickly run through Oyo State before we'll take a quick break. Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde says the establishment of state police is now imperative if we are going to surmount the security challenges facing Nigeria. Governor Makinde spoke during a courtesy visit with the Conference of Speakers of State Legislators, Southwest chapter on Tuesday. The governor said, I want to observe that you need to all come together, irrespective of the political party that brought you into office. This is a demonstration that the electioneering period is over and you need to have everybody pulling together to govern and deliver dividends of democracy to our people. Makinde said, a lot of people may not know that before we launched Amatokun in this state, some of us governors went to the federal government and we asked to be allowed to set up state police for our various states, but we did not get that approval during the time of President Buhari. He said, I disagreed at that particular time and still disagree to date that the states are not in the position to maintain state police. I have never seen where the federal government went to a particular state and gave the police everything they needed. So the states are already maintaining the police. So he said, the issue of being unable to maintain state police will not arise again. Give us the responsibilities first and see if certain states will be able to maintain it or not. But since we could not get state police, we settled for Matukun. All the state assemblies in the Southwest passed a common law for its establishment. So we have to be pushing for state police, and you lawmakers have a role to play to make that a reality. A quick one. The call for state police. One of the critical concerns the Nigerians have had, if these governors with immunity can demonstrate the level of impunity we have seen them demonstrate while in office, what are the guarantees that if they now have this power to control the police, that the people will be safe? How much of a state police do you think would work when it comes to nipping the security challenges we have in the board right now?
It will control it.
Okay.
At least to the barest minimum.
If the legislation is right on that.
Yes, you see, from what His Excellency said, Sheyi Makinde, two things he said there that are very funny to me. That he had gone to Buhari so that he can approve. Buhari does not have the power. No president has the power to approve. It's in the exclusive list. And so they had to go back to the National Assembly. Not just going back to the National Assembly, it has to go around the 36 states of the Federation. So the idea that, if you say we have mooted the idea that a bill should be signed, that understandable. Two, he's saying that they are already maintaining the police. And so, no, let him speak for your state. There are states. We must, when we come to the conversation table, the discussion table, we must be frank with ourselves in terms of governance. How many states pay 18,000 minimum wage? How many? How many states can comfortably 18,000? That pay. Which of those states? Can we now in the conversation say, okay, can we collapse those states back to where they took them out from? Or should the state police now be giving back to? How would these states fund them? The idea of a state police for me, it's a welcome development. Now, if we're in this kind of situation now, where some state cannot pay, my recommendation will be, can we have a regional police? That the states and all actors together contribute to a common purse for the regional police, instead of having Zamfara police and Zamfara cannot fund it, or having River State Police and they cannot fund it. But from what they have said, there are pseudo police officers. We have OSPACs in River State. So there are agencies doing this policing work, but we just want to come back and legalize it. And so for me, number one challenge will be the economic problem of those states. How many states are viable? The viability of those states, where are they? It's not there. And so instead of having a state police today, can we begin to think and have a regional police that will deal with the regional problems? Why the governors of each state would handle their domestic problem and the others will deal, because now we had alleged invasion of Fulani herdsmen and all of that. Right. The regional police can deal with anything outside of its region or anything coming into its own region. Why we now have a higher police officers or the military at the higher level. But I would not want to go for a state police now. In this current economic, most of those states are not viable. Unfortunately, they are not viable.
No, all right. We'll take a quick break, everyone. When we come back, we'll be taking a story from the National Assembly, where the Speaker is asking the President Tinubu, to toughen up on insecurity. We'll have more of that conversation in line with what we're talking about with state police when we come back from the break.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on-spot news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on The Fact Today, only on ATN.
Atlantic blowout on the Atlantic Television Network. And we jump straight into the next story, where the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, has implored President Bola Ahmed Tinubu not to shy away from making tough decisions following vicious issues of insecurity in the country. The Speaker stated this during his remarks at the resumption of plenary after Christmas and New Year holidays. Honorable Abbas noted that the heinous murder of over 30 people in Plateau State, as well as many others who have fallen victim to the mindless acts of terror in the last few weeks. We're going to listen to the track up, and when we come back, we'll just have these conversations.
The nation has been caught in the vicious grip of insecurity, a malaise that spreads its tentacles far and wide, sparing no one in its wake. Despite numerous security measures, this menace continues to thrive, mocking our efforts and challenging our resolve to build a cohesive, peaceful, and prosperous Nigeria. It is a stark reminder that the conventional approaches to security we have exposed for so long are no longer sufficient. The time has come to think out of the box and adopt new and contemporary strategies that better respond to the complexities of our current challenges. To our patriotic and brave security forces, while commending your heroism and sacrifice, the time has come for you to review your approaches and strategies, innovate and adapt. The enemy evolves, and so must we. I challenge you to rise to this occasion to demonstrate the indomitable spirit.
Shocked that this is not an isolated event, as in the past few days alone, a commercial driver was killed between Ayedo and Ayebode by armed bandits. And just yesterday, a school bus load of students were abducted in Emure, Ekiti, and their whereabouts is still unknown till now. Aware that the late Onimojo was an intellectual and highly intelligent historian, an orator who always spoke truth to power. Also aware that the late Elesu was a peace-loving king.
The 24th of January 2024, there was another attack on the people of Mongo local government area of Plateau State, killing more than 50 persons, other serious injuries with over 1,000 houses and properties.
Right, now that's the rep for Ekiti State speaking there. And of course, we got the reports yesterday that the two monarchs were killed, as well as some school children being abducted by bandits, to use the general term. And preceding this story, we're talking about state policing and federal policing. How does it work? Regional policing. And yes, while I agree with your position that not every state can afford a state police, is the federal government doing any better? If state governments are practically providing equipment for the police force, I mean, the River State government definitely, Lagos State government definitely, you know, or your state government definitely. The FCT minister has recently also promised to equip the security operatives in the Federal Capital Territory. If the federal government, who is supposed to be in charge, is failing in its duties, clearly, why not hand over the police to the states where they can afford them? I agree, but it can be staggered. There can be states where, okay, these states can handle this. Let's leave it to them. And probably also hand over the allocation set aside for these apparatus, security apparatus, to the state government as well, to run it more efficiently, more effectively, as compared to other states who cannot manage it. Because the federal government is failing as well. 99% of the police checkpoints you will drive past, you find that those vehicles in which they sit are non-functional. they practically use them as sitting spots. Because not far away, you see their private cars parked. So they drive to their locations and they sit in their broken down vehicles.
Well, unfortunate incidents in Ekiti. And that is why, you see, a call for urgent response, not guns. There is a surge in crime. Can we begin to ask ourselves, why? There is a surge of crime where ordinarily you don't have, those crimes do not exist. Why? There are kidnapping now in Lagos. A PDP chieftain was kidnapped in Lagos. We heard this some years back. Can we now begin to question ourselves? What is the issue? Is this tied to economic power?
That's where I was going.
Is this tied to the fact that people want to make a living desperately? What exactly is the problem? And so when we question ourselves, we now begin to propose solutions. Yes, crime anywhere is a crime and it should be punished. But can we allow our people go into this? See, a governor then said when you pass a death sentence on somebody that he cannot sign it, he cannot sign the death of, because he's a Nigerian. Even though he's a criminal, he's a Nigerian. And so, what could be happening? It is not, is it the failure of security forces? Is it the failure of governance? Is it that, now you said $1 is
1,480.
What it means is that if you had ₦1 million as probably deposit somewhere you have kept,
it's not up to $1,000. It's about $700 or $800 right now.
The value has reduced. Even when you have not touched the money, the value just depreciated. And so, what are the consequences that we would have going forward in this present kind of economy? Is one, simple: tackle the economic empowerment of the people. Look, put the guns out, put the soldiers out. Like they say in the local palace, man must survive. Anyhow, man must survive.
All right.
We are not saying that crime is good, no. But crime are now beginning to spawn front.
Yeah.
Somewhere where you do not have them.
Crime
places where they are just, these farmers, they go to their farm and come back, no problem. Now we're now beginning to have the things that we have in places where we, when you mention crime, you mention yourself, you say, no, that is how that state is. We know that state. But it is relatively a peaceful place.
More like crime is moving from the urban center
a civil
to
servant,
the rural
it's a
area.
civil servant state. So what then is the problem? That it is not just kidnapping. They killed them.
And took away some school children.
So we should now begin to question ourselves. Unfortunate. But the government must come with solutions.
All right.
And in saying that, you see why I said a regional police. If you do a staggered police, for example, Rivers State decide to take state police, there is this affinity between Rivers and Bayelsa.
Right.
There is this affinity between Bayelsa and Delta.
Right.
They have the same. So once you have a regional police, the same type of crime flows within this area. It can be curbed.
Right.
And so resources can be pulled together
To manage the police.
to manage the police rather than leaving it to one state who has not paid. Okay, the truth is, let's even mention a state, Ekiti State. Some Kogi State, they are still owing backlog. Abia State, they are still owing backlog of salaries. So, would regional or state police, which would work more?
I think they should begin to think on Mr. Daniel's line, and that's regional police. But now, still speaking on the issue of security and the government's attitude towards this, the presidency has replied Alhaji Atiku Abubakar's statement that accused President Bola Ahmed Tinubu of fiddling with security and economic challenges, describing it as reckless. In a statement in the State House press released by the Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga, said, "We like to believe that Alhaji Atiku is still not nursing hangover of his electoral defeat and now latches on any issue to attack President Tinubu." Onanuga said President Tinubu did not travel without informing Nigerians of his whereabouts. He announced a private visit to France and announced the return date, okay? He said while in France, President Tinubu has been following developments at home and he is on top of the situation in the country. Today's inauguration of the tripartite Committee on National Minimum Wage bore his imprimatur. According to Onanuga, President Tinubu is in constant touch with his officials and security chiefs and has directed them to stamp out every form of criminality in the country and has particularly ordered them to apprehend those criminals responsible for the murder of 2 monarchs in Ekiti State and kidnapping of some pupils in the state. He said, we are already seeing results with the arrest of over 139 kidnappers around Abuja, Kaduna and Benue State in the last 1 week. The Police Special Intervention Squad and DSS have also rescued 154 abducted persons in the last few days. He said just last week, President Tinubu approved 50 billion naira, a special fund to address some of the lingering security challenges in Northeast, where Alhaji Atiku hails from. To cope with the kidnapping challenges in the FCT, President Tinubu also approved the funds for the acquisition of equipment to track criminals. He said if Alhaji Atiku is really concerned about security issues and not playing cheap politics, he should have known that President Tinubu is on top of issues and working hard to restore peace to every part of our country. Why is it that every time they need to do the hatchet man's job from the presidency, Onanuga is always at the fore? Atiku Abubakar is a statesman. Atiku Abubakar is an adult Nigerian, a full-blooded Nigerian, if you may. Atiku Abubakar has influence across board. Atiku Abubakar, we believe, should have been in position to speak up on issues he feels uncomfortable with. Why do you think every time that is, Onanuga is the one who attacks this and never listens to the impact of that?
That is his job.
Okay.
He's doing his job. No, see, we need to separate them. That is his job. Strategic communication, I think, to the president. That's his job. Reply fire for fire. That's what I'm telling the River State government. You just go. Why you going quiet? For what? You go quiet. Reply immediately. Even if the president has not seen it, you have replied. Why you wait for formal response, probably from the Minister of Information or Ajuru Ngilali. The Minister of Information about the government position. But his own is to reply.
So, but does Atiku have a point in raising this concern?
I am even angry at the person of Atiku.
Okay.
Peter Obi has been moving on and on and on. What does that do? It puts the government on its toes. We do not want somebody to go to Dubai and retire and then issue statements. No! You should be seen physically. So he has not even done enough. Stop issuing statement and then you just go into hiding. When something happens, you issue a statement. No, it should not be that way. Come out, visit these places, talk to the media, talk to the people. He puts the government on his toes to make sure that these things are resolved. It goes beyond just issuing a statement. I'm not happy. You issue a statement and then you go a week, 2, 3, nobody sees anything, and then something happens tomorrow, you issue. No! Visit the places, talk to the media, talk solution. That if we were in government, this is what we would have done. He puts the government on his toes.
Right.
To know that these guys had not retired. They are on our neck. That we must produce answers. And so once you issue a statement and there's a reply from the president's team, everything go quiet. The guys who are supposed to be on the field, everybody is relaxed.
Okay.
Come out of your hiding. Come out of Dubai. Visit these places. Talk to people. Remember about 2 or 3 days ago when Peter Obi visited Ibadan? His Excellency Sheyi Makinde.
Yeah.
He said, even my leader, the presidential candidate of my party, had not called me.
Yeah.
And then you just sit somewhere and ask your boys to issue statement. No, you should go beyond that.
Okay. So let's really take this one. Transparency International Nigeria, in a recent report, had ranked Nigeria at 145 out of 180 on the Corruption Perception Index, while in the previous report, Nigeria was ranked 150 out of 180 countries on the scale of corruption. In reaction to the latest CPI ratings on Tuesday, the Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga, said, if we were ranked 150 before and we are now 145, that for me is some progress. Slowly but surely we shall get there. I think what this government has done in removing fuel subsidy alone was like ending a cesspool of corruption. The whole thing about subsidy was always reeking of corruption. So by removing it, the president was actually dealing with the corruption cartel who have been milking the country dry for many years. He said that is what you will see in also harmonizing the exchange rate. It is also fighting corruption as well. Some privileged Nigerians had been getting this money at the official rate and then round-tripping it in what the corruption monitors will call arbitrage and then making a lot of profit by selling the same money in the BDCs. So at least we can see that the two reforms that the president has instituted were meant to tackle corruption, not to talk about the suspension of a minister who appeared to have been violating financial rules. This is one sweet news to Savo that at least we are doing something. We have moved upwards. Well, however, Socioeconomic Rights and Accountability Project Deputy Director Serap Kolowalo-Ludare said these rankings have shown more than anything else that Nigeria needs to work more on our transparency and accountability systems. He said this must be interpreted by those in government to mean that they have more work to do. Even Transparency International has made clear that small fluctuations or changes, as we have in the case of Nigeria, are entirely insignificant. He said, I do not think this is something that should be celebrated at all. As for recommendations to the government and anti-corruption agencies, they must be seen and perceived as being transparent and accountable. Similarly, the Executive Director of the Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center, CISLAC, that is Musa Ibrahim Rafsanjani, said the Tinubu administration would need to make dramatic efforts and many steps in the right direction to improve the numbers in the coming years. The shift is not significant. That's why we are encouraging the government to do more so that we can make progress. Look at the charts in the last 10 years of the last reports. All right, over now to you, Kingsley.
Okay, thank you. There are three things that stick out. First off, if you have a kid in school who is positioned 145 out of 180, I don't think there is any parent on the planet who will be celebrating. If in first term he was 150 out of 180, and in second term he was 145 out of 180, I don't think my father will celebrate me. If he's watching, I'm sure he's chuckling right now. I think he will still whip me. That's one. Secondly, the issue of subsidy removal and the advent of the Dangote refinery. A few days ago, there was a report that I saw that said that the Dangote refinery will be importing crude oil after all. That tells you immediately that fuel prices are not coming down. Because the same things that have been complained about, landing costs, depot, blah, 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 blah. Those fees are still there. So it is not a solution. That's two. Number three, when Oga Onanuga comes out to say that the presidency, the government has, what's the word, that grammar they use to describe what they've done with the exchange rate. Harmonized it. Yeah. I'm wondering where the harmony is. The official rate currently is 892 naira to the dollar.
I think naira and something.
And on the parallel market, it is 1,480. So where is the harmony? And Nigerians are living with Nigerian pay, but transacting on a global market space. More Nigerians have been driven into abject poverty, which directly translates to the increase in crime, like we were discussing, in places where before you could leave your house doors open and walk out. I came in from Calabar, Cross River State, and when I went there 4 years ago, I marveled. You know why? The houses didn't have fences. I was like, in this Nigeria, no fences, no big gates. Guess what? In the last year, people have learned how to use concrete now.
All right.
They now know they can mix concrete. Fences have risen, gates have risen. I'm seeing more CCTV cameras mounted everywhere.
All right, Mr.
So
Momoh.
crime has, how far?
You see, first, that report is for the government to sit down and say, Daniel Momoh, what does he perceive about us, about our activities? Because that is the perception index. It's not the actual crime fought. It's not the actual case won. It's not the cases in court.
Right.
It's not. But what the people perceive about their government, which is one. Take, for example, when these guys came in, not one person, from the local government chairman to the president, declared their asset publicly.
Right.
No one. So what does the people feel? How do they react to it? Okay, probably these guys, there's something they do now that they will write that they have 10 houses. Meanwhile, probably they had 2. But in anticipation that when they get in the office, so it will be there. So if you had, for example, a president who declared his asset publicly, it reduces the perception about corruption towards that thing. It increases the ranking.
Like the former president with his 120 cows.
It increases the ranking. For example, we should now begin to challenge ourselves. The people we had taken to court for several years, how come we now have case spanning up to the people now have grandchildren? The case is still in court. How come that people now still, because a woman transferred 44 billion to a private, and for me I'm wondering, how did the money move? That no one could trace until it got to a point where somebody wrote a petition against it. So these are the kind of perceptions that people have or feel towards their government. And that is what these people give here. And about the Dangote issue, no, I think that is purely business. But anyone that is expecting that fuel will come down, I think probably we're living in another world. I'm not anticipating that. What I want is availability. And the fact that we could reduce the amount of dollar that we actually spend in Nigeria. But the government must work to reduce the negative perception about corruption.
Thank you so much, Mr. Momoh. It's been an honor hosting you on Atlantic Blowout today. We always look forward to having you. So once again,
thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Yes, sir.
And that's been our show, everyone. We'll come back to you at 10 a.m. for open conversation. But remember, you can continue to join us live by logging on to atlanticnetwork.tv. And you can also download our app from the App Store, ATN Live, and join us live from anywhere you are in the world. Also, watch us live on Facebook and YouTube, Atlantic Television Network. And do well to join us on other social media platforms. On X, we're Atlantic TV Net, on Instagram and TikTok, Atlantic TV Network 1. And remember that peace and unity remains the pathway to progress. Until we come to you, up next, we'll bring you ATN Sports Talk. Stay with us.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring all sports